Hey everybody, how's it going? We're gonna do a overall view of these. I got the other one finished the other night, so now that I have both of them sitting here, we'll do a kind of an overall talk about what I did to them. Um, we'll go over some of the tools and stuff that I used on them, go through some of the processes that I went through, and kind of talk about that stuff. So um, these turned out really, really nice. I'm super happy with how they turned out. A lot of work. About 2 weeks into each one of them, so 4 weeks overall worth of work into these two. A lot of cleaning and polishing work. There were no broken parts, so I didn't replace anything. All these parts are completely original to both of these drums. Everything except for the heads. Top and bottom heads got replaced just for better sound quality. These had never been disassembled before, and the heads had never been changed before, so they were still in real original condition. A little bit of fogging from water and fingerprints over the over years. This one got a little bit more water damage than this one did, so there's a few spots in the rims that didn't shine up quite as nice, just because of the more water damage. And it's nothing too crazy, just some areas that kind of stayed a little foggy, just from the damage. So other than that, all the rims still shined up really good. Did a super in-depth cleaning on these two when I had them apart. Re-greased everything. New grease for the lugs in the lower part of the tension rod. New grease in the upper part of the tension rod for the top lugs. Took a lot of time to make sure these little keepers were cleaned. If I could focus in. These little keepers are clean. And then both the washers, the fitted washer and the top circular washer, all those got cleaned up really well. Shut my door here. Okay. So, a lot of work. And I ended up getting these off of eBay, and actually I only bought one off of eBay, and the seller contacted me separately on Messenger and asked if I wanted the other one, and of course I did. So cut me a really good deal for both of them and two carriers, so that was really cool to get both of them. They are they're both from the University of Illinois. They're from their marching band. I ended up keeping the inventory stickers that the university put on the backs of these, and in a minute I'll flip them around and show you those. They are direct descendants as far as their inventory goes, but as far as actual builds go, these drums are about 10 or so drums apart from each other. This one you can see it's 083436, and then this one is 083447. So they're overall pretty close to each other, just for getting some random drums off of eBay. Everything went pretty smooth on these. I didn't run into any issues. Nothing serious. No serious issues with these. No big damaged parts. There's a little bit of, in both of the cases, there's a little bit of scratching and some minor gouging here and there. And I say really minor, it's nothing too crazy at all. And a few of those scratches actually had a color transfer on them from whatever it was rubbed up against, and I was able to clean a lot of the color transfer scratches off. So both the cases and the wraps on the cases cleaned up really well. The pearl name itself on both of these was in really good condition. I have another drum where the A got really bit into from something. but both of those were in really good shape. Took a lot of time in polishing all 3 rims. Did a dual polish on those, did 2 rounds of polishing each, so that took some time. All the hardware got polished, the throw-offs and the strainers. You can see all that stuff's really reflective and shiny. Did a lot of polish work on that. Even the brackets that hold them to the tubes got polished up. New grease for the adjusting bolts on those, and then the snare tensioner adjusting screw there, that also got grease on it, new grease. So everything is pretty much new. The snares on both of these were in fantastic condition, almost new condition, so there wasn't any issues with the snares themselves. Like I said, the only things I replaced was the top heads and the bottom heads. We'll flip these around here so that way you guys can check out the inventory tags and kind of check out the backs of them here. So there's the back sides. Still super nice, super clean all the way around. Took a lot of time on both of these to make sure they were really nice all the way around. And with these projects, I did what I could to clean up what I could. I wanted these to still have that used look, but have a very clean and well-preserved used look. So they still have some of the scratches and some of the marks on the rims are still there, and little tiny things with the cases that you can't really see just without pointing it out to you. Just kind of kept stuff like that, just cleaned it up really well. I wasn't going to get too aggressive and completely refinish the rims and completely, get rid of all those scratches. That stuff takes even more time, and I was just wanting these to be kind of what they turned out to be, just a really well-used, well-preserved piece. So you can see I left the inventory tags on there. University of Illinois, State of Illinois. And like I said, even though these two aren't direct descendants as far as the actual manufacturer goes, they are direct descendants in their when they were labeled. So this one's P40049-183, and then this one is P40049-184. So those really nice, kind of. And then also by leaving them, it gives them some history of where they came from, and also shows that they were direct descendants of each other as far as the school was concerned. So it was really cool to get this pair and then do all the work to them. I've done some work in the past, and I'm gonna kind of go back once I did these, I realized a few things I could have done a little bit different on some of my other ones. So when I go and rebuild all that stuff, I'm gonna kind of get more in depth like I did on these. It got really in depth, at least as far as I wanted to, in the cleaning and all that. But we'll flip them on their sides so that way you guys can see the bottoms and see how the bottom sides turned out here. Okay, so there's the bottom ends. Really nice. Made sure that they were super clean on the outside, and you can see my reflection in the bottom head there. A little bit of scratching in the bottom of the support feet. That's okay. I wasn't gonna be too worried about that. They sit on that. You can see some of the damage that's on the bottoms of the rims just from getting set on top of things and whatever else. Wasn't too worried about that stuff. As long as I could get the shine back to the aluminum that is in good condition, that's really all I was looking for. Like I said, I want that in-service look, but still have a very well-maintained look. So, snares on both of these are just in amazing condition. None of them were bent, no frayed ones, no broken ones. So that was really nice. You guys can see the insides of the shells are really clean. No staining from water. Made sure that when I put these together, I tried to keep that a completely dust-free area in there. Some of the dust that you are seeing is just stuff that's on the outside, just from the static. But internally, these things are 100% clean, really nice. Let me get one flipped over here. Both of these drums are from 2007. I believe one was built in October and one in November. There's the use my hand as a thing that you can actually see it. That's not going to focus very well, is it? Can we focus? There we go. So I used the Ramo Ambassador snare side clear on both of these. Really wanted to make sure that these looked exactly alike once they were done. I feel like I accomplished that pretty good. And then we used the Ramo Black Max for the tops, and I got these tuned up really good. They both sound identical to each other, which is kind of a pain in the butt sometimes, to get two things that are highly adjustable sounding exactly the same. A lot of fine-tuning work there, but so yeah, that's them overall. Just kind of give you guys a nice overall shot on them. Really happy with how they turned out. They look and sound fantastic. Super happy about that. So now we'll talk about some of the stuff that I used, tools and some of the greases and stuff. I have a variety of keys that I use. For just some simple stuff, just quick tightening stuff, I use the simple Pearl drum key, just their normal drum key. And then I have these slide handle ones for if I need to get into a tight area, then I can still have some torque to pull on and then be able to slide the handle back and forth if I'm in a tight spot. And then of course the high tension tuning key for when I actually got the heads on and started to tune those up. So that's just some of the keys that I use. Stanley screwdriver. This is a much older one. Phillips head. And that's pretty much for all the screws on this. The screws in the bottoms of the throw-offs. That screw there. The screws in the handles. And then also the adjusting screws on the strainers. Those all work really well with a fatter head, Phillips head screwdriver. 2 pencils for actually tuning the snares. I do the 2 pencil method where you release your snares and then get these set underneath at each end, put your snares back down, and then you can pluck them and tune them all. So I just use two unsharpened pencils, just 2 clean pencils that aren't going to scratch up my bottom heads. The sizes of wrenches. So since these are made overseas, a lot of the stuff is metric. The 13 millimeter would be for those bolts right there, and that's the only things that are on these that are going to be 13 millimeter are the inserts for the tension rods. 8 millimeter. The only thing I use the 8 millimeter on is the stop nuts that actually hold the feet on there. So that's what I use that. 7/16 isn't used on the drum itself, but some of the carrier equipment that I have uses 7/16, so that's why I have that here. And I will be putting the carrier plates back on these. I just wanted to get some pictures and do a good video of them by themselves without any carrier equipment on them. So that's that. And then the 10mm is actually for the nuts. And I'll just come over here and show you on the strainer and the throw off. So that nut right there, to release that and then pull that whole bolt out, you need a 10mm. Fits right on there. So that's what I use that for. I do have a smaller screwdriver, smaller Phillips head screwdriver for other projects as far as tags go. This is a perfect screwdriver size that fits right in there if I were to remove these tags. I have on others, and that's the screwdriver that I use, just a smaller Phillips head. The Allen wrenches, two sizes, and I'll see if I can find my holder here. Put it somewhere, I'm not sure. There we go. So I can actually give you guys the sizes of what you need. So, still metric, and I believe, let's see, this would have been, so it's the 2 and the 3. So the 2 and the 3 is the sizes that I used. And basically what those are used for, the these little Allen head bolts that are used for the brackets that actually hold the snare throw off and the strainer on there. Those take a 3, fits right in there both sides. And then this smaller one I actually used for the set screws that hold these handles onto the adjusting bolt. Those have an internal set screw that has an Allen head, and it takes a 2. So I did end up removing those off of the bolt so I could clean them and make sure everything was okay with those. You really don't have to do that. That's just kind of how in depth I got on these. So there's your 2 sizes for those. I also used an 8mm socket along with, yeah, I forgot about that, along with my 8mm open end wrench for these 2 bolts right here, that one and that one. They have a stop nut on the opposite side, and actually I can rotate one of these here and show you opposite sides of them. So there's both sides of a throw off, and you can see this side has the bolt heads, and then this side has the stop nuts on them. And so I would need two 8mm tools to remove those off of there, so that way I could take the whole throw off assembly apart, clean, polish, service, grease everything up. So it's kind of handy to have 2 things like that. Some small pliers, and I literally use these for everything I ever do. Model railroading, horn work, and apparently drum work now. So really small tweezers, stuff that has little grippies on it on the ends like that. Works out really well. These come to a really fine point, and nothing really specific that I use those for. They're just kind of nice to have to hold things in place, or especially when on these back parts, the nuts sit down into them, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to get those down in there and sit level with your fingers, so sometimes I'll hold them with the small tweezers and place them down in there. Just some oddball stuff like that. This stuff in here is actually lacquer thinner, and I kind of use that for just as kind of a degreaser and a cleaner for a lot of the lugs and some of the other small nuts and bolts and stuff. Just to get a lot of the old grease off of that stuff. Toothpicks I used for greasing applications. So like before I put the top ring or the top rim on and the head, I took my grease that I used, got it on toothpick, and then put it down inside and kind of worked it around the threads. I didn't want to just dip the ends of those lugs in grease and then tighten them, because it would make quite a mess right around the top there, and that stuff really smudges the heck out of the aluminum. So toothpicks are really handy. That's something that I use. The two greases that I use, so the Mobil 1 synthetic grease, this is vehicle grade stuff. I use this on my vehicles and whatever else takes grease pretty much. Really good stuff. That, and I'll kind of come back over here. So that stuff I would apply right into there, and this is one I haven't worked on yet. This is just a part that I have. You can see the old grease is still on there. Clean all that out, and that's an area that I grease. The sliding parts, any of these sliding parts, the front of this block right here, when that slides down, there's little channels that are actually on this case. Those get greased, and then both sides of this block get greased. And then same thing for the strainer. Even though it's a much simpler part, I grease the part of the block that slides on the plate, and then the bolt, the adjusting bolt right there, gets some grease. So that's what I use that stuff on, and also the snare tensioner itself. This little bolt. Sorry, a lot of this is kind of not in the best focus, guys. I'm really sorry about that. That sits right down in there, and that also gets the new grease, that red stuff. And I did not use the same stuff on the lugs. You really don't need to use something that hardcore on the lugs. That's more for like parts that are going to be moving. And so I use this older stuff. It's a 271 synthetic from Schaefer, and it's just a white. It's kind of a lightweight, lighter grease. That's really perfect for the lug application. I know some people use some different stuff. These actually had like a green colored grease on them from the factory. Not sure what grade of grease they used on that, but yeah, so I do use two different greases, one specifically for the lugs and then one specifically for the moving parts, all the adjusting parts and the throw off and the strainers. So Q-tips, went through a lot of Q-tips, especially after removing some of this where the lugs go down into those seats there. I would dip my Q-tips in lacquer thinner, run the Q-tips down in those to clean out all the old grease in those, because it's not really, doesn't make sense to clean all the old grease off of your lug and then put new grease over the top of the old grease in there and then have that nasty mixture. So I took a lot of time to clean out even the threaded areas on the ends here. I cleaned internally on those with Q-tips. And just Q-tips, nothing too fancy there. My glove of choice for doing stuff like this is the Venom Steel. It's a rip-resistant industrial gloves. They have they're thicker, pretty comfortable. That's just kind of what I use, my own preference. Shop paper towels, you can get these virtually anywhere, Walmart. hardware stores, automotive parts stores. I've gotten it from all three of those places, so I use these just to kind of help clean various things. And then for like finishing stuff, I use a couple different towels that are over here. So when I applied the polish, I kind of use these thinner white towels. These are just kind of pretty much like a junk towel. They're nothing fancy. You can get them at auto parts stores pretty cheap. Got a bunch of those. So that's this. These are the towels that I use to apply the polish to the part. These type of towels are what I use for wiping it off after it's set, cleaning the area up. I don't know if these have tags that I can show you. Oh, there we go. This is basically just the brand. So just if you kind of want a reference for like a towel, but you guys can also see like the... these are those towels where you run your finger across them and they kind of feel like they stick to you. It's a really good towel. And then a finishing towel. So after I applied the polish and then after I cleaned off the polish, then we went back with an even softer towel here to do any finishing polishing. Made by the same company as these guys. It's just a much softer towel. And yes, all of these are intended for vehicle use, but it's aluminum that you're polishing. You can use anything you want. Vehicle grade stuff works pretty good on a lot of stuff that I do, along with the horns and the drums. So there you go, guys. It's just kind of a really good rundown on what I did to those and the stuff that I used. So hopefully whoever sees this that's looking for it finds the information helpful. That's my main point for these videos, even though I know a lot of my subscribers are more here for the horn stuff and maybe for the model railroad stuff that's going to come down the road. These videos I want to do just for to help somebody. Could be 10 years from now, who knows? Somebody might find my videos and think they're helpful. So so I'm kind of sorry that I'm deviating from what I normally do on my channel, but I just kind of want to use my channel as a helpful tool in any capacity that I can, whether it be model railroad, whether it be horns, or whether it be something musical. So thanks for sticking around, everybody. I really appreciate all the support. And until next time, take care.